Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Balloon Theatre podcast. Here with none other than your host, Rebecca Phythian, yours truly. Of course, I'm back again with a wonderful, wonderful guest. I'm very, very excited to introduce them. You may have noticed that we've not uploaded for a little while, and there is a reason for that. I was just explaining to our guest, David Allen, oh my goodness, that I basically wanted to do some festive uploads through December. David's laughing at me because I'm just obsessed with Christmas. But I just thought it'd be really nice, and it's also a really good way for me to manage my time in the lead up to Christmas as well. But David, let me stop chatting and actually introduce you. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, very well. Very privileged to be here. I'm honoured to be on here.
Oh, hey, no one said that. That's one for the books. That. Thanks,
There
David.
you go. Well, I'm a big fan. There you go.
Oh, we like that. We appreciate that. So, David Allen, the man, the myth, the legend. Let's get into the nitty gritty for our lovely
Okay.
listeners that might not know who you are. As we do with everybody as well, like tell us a little bit about you, your creative practice, and what you do.
I'm an actor. I'm also an actor who has produced some work. I'm just a working actor. I say to a lot of people, and I think a lot of your listeners will relate to this, is I call myself a struggling actor. In the sense So, like, I'm just basically, I'm really to the bone of it. I'm a working class man who happens to be an actor, and so with that, I've done it all. I've done theatre and education. I've done fringe. I've done Shakespeare. I've done panto, as you very well know. I've had a go at all of it, and I've done some short films. I've never really cracked that part of my career, but theatre's been one that, I've been doing it since I think I was 7 when I started a youth theatre. No, I didn't start a youth theatre. I joined a youth theatre. Can you
I was
imagine
gonna
that?
say,
Blimey. Can you imagine? No, I am so technically shows my age. I've been acting for 29 years.
wow.
I don't look 36, but I am very much 36, but I don't act 36.
No, I would
And
agree.
my acting also, if anyone was to ask what my acting per se would be, is that I'm a character actor. That's what I go to as well. I'm very much a character actor. I've had my go at doing leading man roles. I did one recently with my own theatre company called Precarious Theatre, and we did a show called Conversion. And I'm capable of doing leading man roles, but I tend to get put in the bracket of character roles. I can do silly voices, as yet again, Rebecca knows this. And I have done lots of like comedy roles, but I enjoy the two aspects of them both. Character work is you have a lot of fun in the sense of being really creative and it's like you're taking the breaks off. Whereas the leading man serious stuff I enjoy as well because I feel like I become almost like a psychiatrist slash detective. And I start piecing the person and going, what's that about them? And what's this about them? So I'm a bit of an all-rounder. That's if anyone likes cricket, I'm an all-rounder. That's someone who does the batting and does the bowling. I can do a bit of both. So there you go.
Nice. Nice. Oh, you've kind of answered like 3 of my questions in one there, David. Like, I
Oh wow.
appreciate that. That is yeah, very, very conscientious of you. Um,
Still ask them if you want.
well, let's dive into it even further. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you've kind of said there that you're a struggling actor. You might consider yourself as that. I think it's something that a lot of us have to face as our reality. You know, we're not always going to be working all of the time. And yet we still are actors. We still sort of say that that's what we are. And it's really important, I think, to take that ownership, especially when you're first starting out and you maybe, you know, you're between jobs quite a lot and it's not consistent yet. You know, you do have to build your way up. But I think it's so true, isn't it? That's one thing that I learned when I was at Lipper was when you're not in employment, make your own work. And that's why I do things like this, the podcast, why I do so much with Blue Balloon. I sort of got into poetry and you've done so much. I mean, you, as you said, you've got Precarious Theatre. Is it tell us a little bit about that company. So is it more straight plays that you do? Is it comedy? You know, what kind of work do you create?
So I first met the guy who is the artistic director is Liam David Grogan. He's a gentleman who was doing a PhD in composing in Manchester at the time, and my our good friend Luke Richards had contacted me for another show with a writer called Marco Basoli, and when I did that show, then I met Liam, and me and Luke did a show called a very short, it was like a 15-20 minute short for a thing called the Manchester Forum that they did. And Marco's a great writer, but he really bases around the abstract. So this show was odd. It was very odd, but it's 20 minutes and we worked around it and still, because I don't mind the abstract as long as it's entertaining and the audience can enjoy it. If you just go full abstract, people just go, well, what was that?
Yeah.
So with this, we did like a weird kind of 20-minute thing, and it was fun. And then we went from there to talking about extending it and making it into like a fringe piece. And that's where Precarious Theatre came. It was Liam and Marco, and then it was me, Fran. I say it like Francesca Maria Izzo and Luke, and we did this show. We were aiming to go to Edinburgh, then COVID hit, and then we rumbled around and eventually got it out to some fringe theatres for 2021. And I'd say as a theatre company, we've had Marco as the main writer, and then he writes it, and then we kind of mix around with it to make it more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
That was the initial thing, to make it more palatable. And I was the idiot who was going, we'll just make it funnier. If we make it funnier, they'll be on side. I do that a lot. I did it with his this Marco's first show where it wasn't with Precarious, called Underwater. And it was so bizarre. I was like, this has to be humorous for people to enjoy. So we at first, so with that, we did that, and then we did another show called a theatre show, and then we discovered we were making these plays that were very much talking about the society. We were really pinpointing this thing of society. So a theatre show was about five actors, our work actors, who decide the only way they could fund their show is by robbing a warehouse. So it's like a humorous, silly situation where we were making it funny, but we're also showing the truth, the reality of this industry and how, like, so many of us. And what was really good, each of the actors were like variations of people you will meet so I played a character called Billy, and he believed he was Britain's answer to Ryan Gosling. So I was like, I had like a fake tanned face. I had like all eyebrows. And I was doing lots of the eyebrow acting, and it was very silly. But and then we went into conversion, and each time it had this kind of satirical quality. It was going towards the satirical, and conversion was just Liam took over the writing on that one, and it was he'd heard a story about a St. Augustine come to England to convert England to Christianity. And then when he turned up, we were already Christians. Mm-hmm. So he thought there was a funny little satirical thing we could do with that. And so we did this play that had a satirical look, but a satirical look onto society and how society is. It is raining quite a bit. Can you hear that?
A tiny bit, but it is here as well, to be fair. It's a rainy day in Manchester, guys.
So that's, I'd say we, to cut a long story short, we are very much, the company is quite looking at, it does serious tones as well, because Conversion had really serious tones because it was set in like the medieval times. Mm. So we had a queen character that, had manipulation, but she was being manipulative but we were honing in on this idea of this queen is trying to run the country properly, and there's this dim-witted king who doesn't know what he's doing. So she's taken charge, and one way she takes charge is by, sad to say, using her body. And because we were scared when we were writing that, because especially me, I'm Mr. Oh, we don't want to offend anyone, but there was this thing. I talked to someone, including my sister. She does this speech of going, I realized I could do something, and this is how I do it. And so many people were like, that didn't worry me. And it was true. And it was a nice, truthful bit of not trying, it's such, you do worry because you don't want to upset anyone, but you want to make serious points as well that people will respect, and also just to hone in how we've moved on and how we haven't. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? These little things. So that's what we're talking about. We have some dark things in there, but also we had themes of like Monty Python, Life of Brian. It was very silly, he turns up, this St. Augustine turns up, and they think to greet him, they're going to stage a crucifixion. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they're like, yeah, you love all this stuff. So it had all those things where you could get the audience on side by having a bit of a dark laugh, and then you can slip in these little nuggets of reality.
Yeah.
So then people can consume it and acknowledge it and not feel threatened or feel like they're being patronized. Because a lot of certain theatre stuff I find will be like, oh, we're talking seriously about stuff and you should take it seriously too. And it's like, all right, but I'm here to have a pint, watch a bit of play with my friends. So that's where I felt, and I as a part of the team was very passionate about of going, I want people to have fun, but I also appreciate this side of it as well, and try to, but it also feels like I'm making it a little bit too not as radical or not as pushing the boat out, but at the same time, I personally think you need to get people on side. As I say, a spoonful of sugar makes their medicine go down.
Yes. Who else says that?
Mary Poppins.
No, I love that. And it's so true as well. I completely appreciate where you're coming from, especially about getting across an important message, but using comedy as a sort of tool in order for that message to land in a more, I don't even know what kind of way it is. It gives people a little bit of a change, because they don't expect to laugh, which then makes them think about the message in a different way. So rather than sitting as an audience member going, oh my God, that this is a really intense message of the play, it's like, oh, they've made a mockery of it. Oh, that's interesting. What's my viewpoint on that? Do you know what I mean? It's something that I did quite a lot in Pill, the two-hander that I wrote about the contraceptive pill and its side effects and how it impacted women and people that took it. And it really made a difference in how it was received by the audience. Because it was very, sometimes the hard-hitting pieces are beautiful, and the reactions you can get are beautiful as well, because people go, that is so important. What you've spoken about there is so important. And I think theatre that prompts change, like Precarious, like Blue Balloon Theatre, the stuff we make, it's what society needs, especially at the moment. But yeah, you're absolutely right. A bit of humour goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, I celebrate the hard-hitting stuff as well. And I wouldn't say I'd never do a hard-hitting thing, but I'm one of those that finds, even when you do the hard-hitting stuff, you still need that seed of hope. Do you know what I mean? Like, I relate to a lot of films, but I remember, for example, one film that I thought was awful because it was just all doom and gloom was $1 Million Baby. I remember I watched that film once. I was like, I don't want to live. Do you know what I mean? like that is just all misery. Like, that is just horrible. But then you get certain dramas where I can't think of one right now, but there's certain dramas where it is hard hitting, but there's something about the power of the person or the strength of that person that you kind of
Yeah.
you stick. And if I was to go hard hitting on something, it would be about the power and the hope of people.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I always whinge and say I'm a dog person and I prefer dogs to people. But at the same time, there is little things about us where, even when everything is doom and gloom, there's this joy of that person or of the fight, for example, that makes you go, there's still hope. And
Mm.
that's where I'd go if I was to, and probably will in the future, do something that's really hard hitting. It would need that slither of hope. Because if you don't, then it becomes, and I'm always worried about preachiness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like I did. Sadly, I didn't get to go and see Pill, but I knew from what I saw from the images, I could see you weren't.
Mm.
That wasn't the case. And I also know you. You're a bit
Yeah.
similar to me. And I could see that there would be hope, and that makes the fight. Do you know what I mean? Like the protest more strong because
Yeah.
you kind of go like, we can do something about it. But if you
Yeah.
go just brutal and just be like, there, bad, bad, like that, then it comes off like you don't want any help. You just want something to complain about.
Yeah.
And that's where I go, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
I'm done. I can't deal with that. So yeah.
I think a lot of audience members do that. I mean, it's like you could see any form of art. You might see a film, a short film, something on TV, something at the theatre, and you could leave going, oh my God, I feel heavy. Like
Yeah.
that was too much of a burden for me to take on right now. But you're absolutely right in that if you can kind of find a way to carve out that story with a glimmer of hope, a glimmer
Yeah.
of passion and drive to change something.
That's a good word as well, passion. It
Yeah,
needs to be passion.
exactly.
If it's just being angry at something,
Yeah,
that's when I start struggling. Do
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like not as you know as well, I always word this carefully because I'm a pro feminist. I used to say I'm a feminist, but I say feminist ally now because you get thorny. Some feminists go, you can't call yourself a feminist because you're a man. So I go, okay,
Yeah.
I'm a feminist ally. But when you're a guy, a man like me that's listening and to so many of these wonderful, powerful women and wanting to find a way to help, it's so wonderful. But then you'll meet certain individuals who don't even want me in the same room
Mm,
because they're so angry. And I respect and understand that anger. But then it's almost like the door's closed and it's
yeah.
like you're not allowing anyone to join in, then people will just go, well, I don't want to know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that goes for I only use that as an example because it's one I could think of, but that could go for any kind of power movement or something
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
someone is just extremely angry. And at the same time, I completely understand the anger. And that's why I tend to go, okay, no worries. I'll walk over to this place and leave that be. But at the same time, if you want change,
Mm,
you need to leave that door slightly open
yeah.
to kind of get a
100%.
discussion and make that was scary talking about that because I get so scared thinking that people are going to think that I'm this not sympathetic, but it's
Not
something
at
that
all.
you experience
I
in
think
that way.
actually what you've said there is very respectful, first and foremost. But on the flip side of that,
Mm.
you know, for people that are really, really passionate about it,
Yeah,
and if they've got somebody like yourself or like me or somebody that is willing to learn and
yeah.
is open to listening and wants to be a part of that movement, I think it's really important that the person who knows more is
Oh God, yeah,
willing to teach that person and say, right, well, here are some really useful resources. Go and read
yes,
that because that's really powerful. That's what it's about. And that's
yeah,
how these movements get bigger and more
yeah,
people sort of fight for that change. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I really appreciate that as well, because I think in this day and age, it's really important to be aware of society, what's going on within it, and be open to changing yourself as well, like in your own
Absolutely.
viewpoints.
Yeah.
All of us can do better in some way or another, whether we've found that out
Yeah.
yet or not, you know. But yeah, that's very, very poignant, David. Very poignant indeed. Um, I wanted to do a little segue onto what you were chatting about before, about
Yeah.
being considering yourself as more of a character actor,
Yeah.
because as soon as you said that, the first person that came into my mind was Johnny Depp, for instance.
Ooh, interesting.
So
Yes. Yeah,
a, a,
absolutely.
a lot of people have referred to Johnny Depp as a character actor. We've seen him in roles like Edward Scissorhands, like Jack Sparrow in
Mm.
Pirates of the Caribbean. We've seen him in lots of different films where he's taken on such a vibrant and what's the word? Just a big persona
Yes.
that it's sort of considered to be he's then considered to be a character actor. And
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to break that down with you and sort of say to you, what what qualities do you think a person needs to be a character actor? Because
Mm.
there is a lot of comedy, like you said before, there is a lot of comedy often in roles like that. And having worked with you several times now, I know that I would say that you are 100% because you have this very natural ability when it comes to storytelling with comedy. It's ingrained in you, like it's almost in your body, a part of you, you know.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, what would you say a person needs to be a character actor?
Um, One thing, and it's funny because you mentioned Depp. When you're in that room, you can't have any shame.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Shame's got to go out the window. And it's funny because when I was younger and I was in school, I if you're in what feels like an unsafe space, as I felt, you close up. Like
Yeah.
you close up, and people. I remember the couple of people that I knew at school then joined the youth theatre and thought I was a completely different person. So when I was at youth theatre, the wall was gone,
Mm.
and I was just being like me, just being who I am, which is a bit mischievous, a bit silly, and just went for it. And I think one of the things in that is if you need to make sure you're feeling safe in your working environment to
Mm-hmm.
then just go right, whatever. You throw the cape off and go right. So that's the first thing you need. Shame's got to be out the window. I'm one of those actors that I would argue in that room, I have that kind of big energy. And I find that if you have the big energy, it's a lot easier to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would, because I personally think if you go with something, because that as well as a character actor, depending on what the show is, I'll roll a dice. I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of dice rolling. Like I remember the first time we did the Panto, the first one we ever did, I went in and spoke to the writer and the director and said, because I had two roles, and I kind of went, I'm thinking of doing this and that voice for that. And they kind of were great. And they said, we were going to do a reading. And like, just go for it. Just see, just throw something out there and we'll let you know. So like, okay. And I did. I just threw a gamble, threw the dice. And a lot of directors that I like, and a lot of them, when they do work with me, kind of go, oh, I like that one. Could you try this? And I go,
Yeah.
okay. And I throw something else. The skill set that I've got in voices and stuff, I think that just comes, it's a weird one because people who aren't actors will say to me, well, how do you do those voices and how do you do this? And how did that come about? It came when I was really young. And I don't know, from my personal experience, I don't know how other actors go into that. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how they start adapting that. But for me, I joke and say it's because I had no friends when I was a kid. That's why my joke is I had friends, but I was for a long time I was a recluse. I'd sit at home watching different films with my mum. My mum watched everything and didn't care if it was a certificate 18. She
Yeah.
just put it on. She was bad. But my introduction to a lot of silly voices was Monty Python. It was Holy Grail and Life of Brian. And so that was where I had fun doing that. So having these skills of being having no fear when you're in the room, don't feel embarrassed about looking silly. Having the ability to morph your voice and be free to play, just have a bit of a play. And physicality is a huge one. Like, you need really good physicality to be a good character actor. I've done so many different things with my physicality to morph into. I'm very physical. I'm all about the movement and stuff. And so when I do something that's a little bit straighter or more serious, I do need to, for the first few minutes, kind of go, whoa, stop it. Because I feel my body's doing different things. I'm like, no, we're just walking. We don't need to do stupid things. Not stupid, creative, silly things. We don't need to do them. And then after that, it's once you've laid all those foundations out of your physicality, your voices, your those things out, then you just play with it. And it's a lot of improv as well, being a character actor as well. A lot of improv and just going for it. I think when you think of the likes of Johnny Depp as well, another one actually I just thought of, he's no longer with us, but I think I found it fascinating, is Heath Ledger doing the Joker. Is a prime example of a character actor we were so unlucky to lose as early as we did, because he'd gone through all his, and you see this a lot with certain leading men who were born to be character actors, but because they were pretty or deemed that, they do these films, and you can see in the heart, like Colin Farrell is another example of someone who did the pretty boy routine. And you could see it. And I remembered when I went to see The Gentleman with my sister, who is also a director and now works at the Dukes, she went to see The Gentleman with me, and we watched Colin Farrell, and he's just being this aging boxing coach. And you could see he's on fire. He's so happy because he's being this really obscure, really not taking himself too seriously kind of weird character. And then not long after that, he does the Penguin, and you see that's what it is. It's also that I think it's more wanting to see yourself as another person as well. When you're doing the leading man stuff, and maybe you're playing in as a leading man, playing like a real life person, then you're kind of becoming another person, but you still look in the mirror and it's still you. But when you're being a character actor, it is about really, I wouldn't say desperate for people to say, oh, that's not David Allen, or that's not, but it is about really covering yourself in the character almost, and proper putting the, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, sorry people, but I do understand the invisibility cloak.
Yes.
It's like the invisibility cloak of acting. You kind of want to put that cloak on and be like, within the puppet, almost properly within the puppet of it all. So I think they're the skill. It's funny you say Johnny Depp, because though you're right, he is a character actor, but it's a weird one because I still see a lot of him in them.
Yes.
Whereas I'd say the ones I've mentioned before, like Colin Farrell and like Heath Ledger, I don't see that. I see the character. And that's not discrediting Johnny Depp, because I like Johnny Depp. I love him as Jack Sparrow. But I still look at that and go, that is still Johnny Depp.
It's still Johnny Depp. Yeah, I totally get that, actually. Yeah. That's so interesting.
But then again, I say all this, I can't speak for anyone who's watched me and gone, do they look at that and go, oh, that's the character? Or do they look at it and go, that's David being a divvy, but I'm enjoying it? Because they could be, and I'd be all right with it because I'm enjoying it at least, and that's all that matters.
That's really interesting, actually, what you were just saying about sort of seeing a little bit of Johnny in those characters that he's played. Yeah. And as we were chatting about what it it sort of is to be a character actor. It made me think about method acting and how close those two can sometimes be. When I think of Heath Ledger as the Joker, for instance, he was very method. And
Mm.
what I mean by that, for anyone that isn't familiar with that term, method acting is something where you essentially embody the actor, not the actor, the character completely.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of an example. A good one would probably
Daniel
be,
Day. Daniel
yeah,
Day does it a lot.
Cillian Murphy. Again, he does a lot of method acting.
I didn't know that one. I did not
Yeah,
know.
he's very much sort of embodying the character wholly in the way that they sort of are and lived. Jim Carrey is probably one of the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
method actors that I can think of right now. There's actually a really interesting documentary about a part that he took on. I don't know if you've watched it, David.
I have. Wow.
It's
It's
fascinating.
interesting.
It's really fascinating. I cannot remember the
It's
exact
scary.
name, but I will link it.
It was, yeah.
I'll
It's the
link it
Andy
in the
Kaufman
description.
one. It was, yeah. I think it's called Me and Andy.
Me
Andy
and
and Me,
Andy,
or
that's
Me and
it.
Andy.
That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that, and the way he spoke about not remembering where Jim went during the
I
time
don't
that
like it.
I was like,
I don't.
he, in essence, his persona as himself and his personality, what he likes, dislikes, has changed incredibly over the years because of the parts he's played and because of how method he's gone. And I I think it's wonderful in one respect that somebody can give themselves over so much so to a character and to their
Yeah.
lives. But by the same token, I wonder how detrimental that can be to the livelihood of and the sort of well-being of that person. Like, you know, Jim Carrey is a very intelligent man, but part of me thinks, what would your life have been like if you would have maybe took a tiny step back just to keep a hold of you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a
Yeah.
very interesting discussion, and I'm sure a lot of actors that have done method acting will feel lots of different things about it. But I mean, what's your
Yes.
stance on method acting?
I think it's see, it's funny you mentioned Heath Ledger, because I think you're right. He did
Mm,
do some method acting, but if you look at the interviews with people about that time there, he would snap out of it at times.
really?
He
That's
would,
good.
yeah, he would talk to people at the end, but when the screens were on, he was intense,
Mm,
but he was turning it on and off.
right.
That is a bit better than what other people, I think. And it's a bit of a funny thing. It's a little bit going on American mentality, a little bit, even though like Heath Ledger was Australian and stuff like that. But I find in America, they very much have this attitude of go big or go small or don't bother. Do you know what I mean? They
Yeah,
go
yeah.
head into things. Method acting, I think, in a safe environment and with pit stops, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine. I wouldn't. I think, like I said, as a character actor, I agree. I want to do on certain things proper embody it,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of it, want to give myself those pit stops. So if
Yeah.
I was to do something intense or like a biopic of some kind, I had a funny dream once. I don't know why. I had a dream that I played Eminem. I don't know why I had that dream, but then I remembered I said it to a few people, and they were like, some people went, I can see that. Some people went, I was
I
like,
love it.
really? But so if I was to, for example, do something like that, I would very much take it seriously. I would learn everything about them, and maybe on set, if you will, if you want to call it, if it was a film, I
Mm-hmm.
would probably have my dressing room very much like what he would have in his dressing room. I would have certain things like that, but in the dressing room, I'd still be me.
Yeah.
I'd still be me, but
Yeah.
I would have all those things around me. to get into the mind and the feeling of that person, what their intensity is, what they are about. Just keep making yourself remember. And then I don't know, I think this is a standard thing for all actors, but when you then go into a scene or a play or a character, you kind of then do let the change the rabbits controlling the machine a little bit, and you kind of go, okay. And you, with your research, things like method acting, when it's a serious role, you then go back to the research and you very much go to, right, what do I know that person? What are their tics? What are their things for any different thing? That's what they are. Right. You're not here anymore. It's that person. And it's really weird thing. And then you kind of just glide. That's what I call it. You kind of just glide and you let it flow. And I feel if you have those pit stops and remembering to yourself that this is not real, that you're still around, but you're letting this other entity kind of control your movements and how you're being, but this is not real. And this is why us actors are sometimes a little screwed up, because we do things like that. We are messing with we're doing effectively something that is slightly like unhealthy.
Yeah, just a bit.
You can argue it's very much like smoking for your brain. Do you know what I mean? Like it is that kind of thing. It's not a sensible thing to do when you're doing something serious that's like method acting, because and then if you look back at old Stan, as I call him, old Stanislavski or old Stan, you go through the whole range of things. It's like emotional history and stuff like that is always a big one when you're training. And that's the one that I think sometimes really kills some people over, because then they'll to feel emotion on something. Some people will use that as the emotional history to go back in your catalogue of bad things that have happened to you.
Yeah.
And then you go into that, but then you're making it personal. You're making it about something that you've not dealt in your own world, and then that's becoming connected to your work, and then that's taking you to a pit of mess. And that's why with emotional history, I don't go, I'm going to take something personal from my life, but I will relate what I do to get emotional. So for example, in Conversion, I had a scene where it's like the beginning of the second act, and my character is repenting basically. And I cry on stage. And the way I cry or get emotional about something in a scene is that becomes me, because I'm a natural weeper in films and stuff like that. So what I do is I think about the situation of how a certain situation makes them feel, and how that emotion connects how do I feel when I feel that emotion. So what I'm doing there is I am not going, oh, I remembered when so-and-so died in my life or whatever.
Yeah.
I am going, this is a thing. How does that make me feel when something like that is happening to me?
Yeah.
And then through them, then I can get that emotion out. And I think there's ways of doing method acting that is a lot more safer within, I think, providing the emotion from yourself, but still within them, but not making it personal. And there's things like that. I don't think it's healthy to be that character throughout. And I think it is a very particular kind of person that can do that. I mentioned Daniel Day-Lewis. He is phenomenal. When I watch Gangs of New York, it is a phenomenal performance. But I still argue, and I'm not Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the best actor in the world. I still argue that he could have done it without doing that to himself. That's my point. You can still do it. But your process is your process. I'm not discouraging that. I agree with it in focus. It makes you focused, but it's not your focus anymore. It's not you anymore. And when you watch the Jim Carrey documentary, it's scary. That's where it scares me. I think you're really... damaging yourself. But yeah, again, Jim Carrey said one of the most wonderful things on it was like a meme, but I think it was on an actual like interview thing of which I related to, is he said, why as an actor I'm a broken person.
Mm.
I am a broken person. And through acting, I'm able to pick all these broken things about myself
Yeah.
and create characters. And sad but true is that is something I do relate to. I get that. I
Yeah.
completely get that. But the importance with it all is I I think method is so when I'm babbling, but I'll quickly say this. So when I finished training, I remember when I finished training, I didn't pinpoint a particular practitioner. I
Mm-hmm.
came in with, I call it like my bag of tricks. And in there, I've got a bit of Grotowski, I've got a bit of Brecht, I've got a bit of Stanislavski, I've got, we could go for age, Milsner, do you know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
could go, they're all in there. And I go, okay, I've got these. And in every project I've gone, whether it's serious, funny, panto, TIE, whatever it is, I go, okay. And I just get my bag of tricks and I go,
Mm-hmm.
right, I'll get 2 bits of Stan and a bit of Brecht. Right, that will do me. And then I go. And I think that makes me feel safer a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. But I respect method acting, but I think if you are to go full blown method like some of these actors do, you need someone to check in on you. I
Yeah.
remember the actor who played Dharma. You could see he was so done with this project when he won his Golden Globe.
Mm.
You could see he obviously had people who were with him and keeping him safe, but he was done.
Mm.
He won that award, and it was a good speech and stuff like that. But he looked so dead, done, and I just wanted to go and give him a big hug because I was like that. Oh, because I'm not slagging off America, but when they do stuff like this, they go crazy, and yeah, it's a rough ground for me, I
Yeah.
think.
I totally get what you mean, actually. There is a huge difference between the way we create sort of films, media,
Yeah,
TV,
yeah,
theatre. And, I think every culture, not just the American culture, every culture has a different way of doing it. And I do agree with you, actually, from what I've seen within sort of sitcoms or series or films from America that have been made there. There's always this thing of you go big or you
yeah,
or you try and go small, but it's still a lot bigger than what we would call small. Does that make
yeah,
sense? we
absolutely.
I think we are quite good at making naturalistic sort of kitchen sink drama. We do
Yeah,
that very well in
yeah,
sort of British society. But everything that you've talked about there, David, is so interesting. It made me think a lot about my training as an actor and doing emotional recall and thinking about things within sort of your history that you can call upon to find these emotions that are perhaps not what you would experience every day, whether it's something sad or traumatic or something that's going to bring that state of emotion. And I
yeah,
think when it comes to sort of method acting or really sort of immersing yourself into that character, what you've said there is absolutely right. Using your toolkit of what you've learned is so important. I think it allows you to sort of stay in control as an actor. And it then you can decide how far you go with it. And I think that's quite important. Personally, whenever I've taken on a role, there's always been that element of me. And I think a lot
mm,
of my friends and my family will say that as well, that I can always, however hard it may be, because sometimes it is hard to return to yourself. And that sounds so bizarre to a lot of people. They might not understand that, but it is actually very hard to
yeah,
return back to your normal state of mind,
yes,
especially when you're in the middle of a run playing a
yeah,
certain character,
yeah,
and every single one of those characters has a different back catalogue of
mm,
experiences.
yeah,
um and like you said as well before about sort of doing your research and really using that, it's
mm,
so vital to any character. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I mean, one thing I did chat about a couple of episodes back was about when you take on the role of like a Christmas elf, for instance. You're not, you're not going to sit there doing loads of homework on that, really, are you?
You don't need to.
Well, no, I don't. I don't. But maybe you do, David. Actually, I think you should start now. Get ready for Christmas. But no, it's really interesting. All of these things are like fundamental sort of tools for
Yeah.
actors to be thinking about.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that for both of us, we've both trained in acting. It's something that we spent quite, 3 years doing at drama school, university, and that gives you so much more insight, in my opinion, than it does if you were to maybe go straight into filming or straight into trying to work in theatre, because that way you are learning much more on the job. Obviously, you're going to do that. And this is a whole different debate of, do you need to go to drama school or do you not? Everyone's different, like you said. Everyone's different. Everyone's got a different way of taking on a character. There is no set way. And I think that's the beauty of what we do. Like, me and you, for instance, take on characters in totally different ways. But actually, when we've performed together, we, in my humble, honest opinion, we really complement each other in our styles.
We understand one another. I think what we do have in similar stance in, well, the pantos we've done. I'd love to do something serious with you. It'd be interesting where that would go.
Yeah.
But I find that when we're in like a panto world, one thing we have similar is we're happy to have a play. Do you know what I mean? We're happy to have a play. And that part of it. And we also... we're very supportive on the stage. So when you've got two people who, because we don't want, if anyone was struggling, we're the two kind of people that would go, I can get them out. So when us two come together and we have those two things of going, well, we're both up for a laugh. And also, if one of us is going to struggle, we'll get the other one out. So when we've got that, and then you and me are in there, then we're okay. And we can... we start jazzing it up a bit and having a bit of a laugh, and it works lovely because we have that initial trust that is needed. Where we're going with this?
Well, we were just talking about an actor's process.
I was going to mention that. I just realised what I was going to say, because I've met a few people who've just gone, not done any training, and have gone for it. And I'm not against it at all. I'm not against it. If it works and you get work, then who am I to complain about?
Yeah, hell yeah.
However, you then get this weird sticky, it can make it awkward in the work aspect, because some of the people that just go straight into it might not understand the care that might be needed. Do you know what I mean? The kind of just that little bit of care and consideration going into it. Because I'm at one actor who I don't talk to anymore. Controversial. But they were very much, it was almost like a foreman. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a job, isn't it? You just do this, you get on with it. It's not, whatever. And that wasn't the reason why we stopped talking. But nonetheless, anyway, it was just this attitude of, I'm doing it, it's done. And it's like, well, but there's ways to making it a bit slicker, or maybe there's ways to, because I think they got upset about a certain show we were doing, and they were insisting that it had to be rewritten, and we were in the middle of a run, and I was like, it's not getting rewritten. Well, it just needs to be rewritten. I was like, it's not getting rewritten.
Oh dear.
Like, I think I said it so many times in our dressing room. It's not getting rewritten. We got to just work with what we've got. No, but it just needs to be rewritten. Why can't it just be rewritten?
Yeah.
And so that's those little things. And please understand, anyone who's listening to this, I am not saying that if you are that actor that's gone out straight out, I'm not saying that's you. But I'm saying that they are certain experiences that I've noticed. There was
Yeah.
another person who I worked with who was actually really good, but then was getting pernickety about the little things that really didn't matter.
Hmm.
And I think if they had had the sufficient training,
Yeah.
um, they would realize it wasn't an issue. But
Hmm.
they were really focused on one little thing. And it's like, honestly, that's not a problem. The other stuff is this thing that you're fascinated about or getting upset about, really, you don't have to worry about. And
Yeah.
for them, it wasn't that they were nasty. They were just too focused on one thing and they needed to walk away from it so they could do their job um, more cleanly or more confidently,
Yeah.
if anything. And I think all it is with those 3 years, we're getting more practice in as well than
Mm.
just jumping straight in. But like you said, I do not dismiss anyone who's not had any training. If they've naturally got that skill, I salute them and they go for it. And
Yeah.
everyone should just go for it. If they think they've got a chance to do something in this industry, go for it and tell stories and be that person. But I do think that there is a difference. And if you've trained and
Yeah.
you're in that environment, you just start noticing these little things that you go, ah, okay. And
Yeah.
either you have the confidence to go up to them and find a way to almost like do the horse whisperer to
Hmm.
kind of make sure they calm down on these little things, then great. If not, you just got to work with what it is and deal with it. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Just as you were saying that, it made me think so much about my journey. And
Mm.
I went to college, did musical theatre, auditioned for drama schools, didn't get in the first year. So I took a year out. And during that time, I was already very disciplined as a person. But that year out made me so focused and even more passionate in sort of that feeling of, I want to go to drama school. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I sort of went back into auditions with this undeniable kind of charisma and drive because I was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think what I gained from going to drama school and getting that training was the toolkit that we talked
Yeah.
about before, of all
Absolutely.
these different practitioners and things that I can call upon when I need, a vocal warm up or a
Yeah.
physical aspect of a
Absolutely.
show, or just a practitioner's work to kind of take inspiration from.
Yeah.
It teaches you the, like we were chatting about before, the fundamentals of what it takes to be an actor. And I think more than anything, it it gives you that discipline
Yeah.
of, this is how you get ready to take on a role. This is
Yeah.
how you execute it. This is how you maintain your stamina across
Yeah.
however long of a run, however many days. And like I was saying, that discipline for me, I think, was always there. As soon as I knew that I wanted to perform,
Yeah.
I went, right, well, I best go for it then, and I best be serious about it. And obviously I have so many laughs and so much fun along the way, but I am still serious about it because it's the
Absolutely.
thing, it's the thing that I love most in the world. And I know you're the same,
Same.
David.
They're absolutely the same.
Yeah.
It's so many people in my working class life go, if when you get some people go, when are you going to decide to give it up and go for something proper, like a proper job or whatever?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I get where they're coming from a little bit, but I know with myself, if I was to proper stop trying or pushing myself out there to possibly make a functioning career out of it, if I was to
Mhm.
stop, that'd be the most depressed
Yeah.
I'd ever be. Do you know what I mean? You might as well be slightly depressed trying
Yes.
than completely depressed giving it up. That's
Yeah.
that's the difference. That is the difference. I did think of something that made me laugh there. When we were talking about, you called it a toolkit. I loved how I said a bag of tricks. So what you've got, I pictured you've got this neat toolbox, and I've got this like Tesco bag with a hole in it. I mean, right, I've got some things here. Yeah, a bit of sand. There we go. It's all on the floor. It's all on the floor. And then there's you, Mrs. Like, I've got it all petite in a nice little toolbox to get it out.
I feel like you've just described our personalities so perfectly.
It shows our friendship there, doesn't it? Like, although you are a loony sometimes, and yeah, the amount of times I just go,
Yeah.
I sigh. Have you got? I just love you doing festive episodes. I love it. That's just you all over.
Well, I tell
Anyway,
you
go
what,
on.
the main reason why is because we've got quite a lot of changes coming up in Blue Balloon. And a couple of months ago, I had lots going on, and a lot has to go into making this podcast. I'll be completely truthful with everyone that's listening. And I thought what would be really nice is uploads on every Friday through December. And I thought what I can do is put some lovely festive little garlands around the images on social media, and it'll be so lovely. And you know what? That in my mind was such, I didn't laugh about it. That was a concrete, brilliant idea. And now look at you, David. You're beside yourself.
Oh my God. I just think it's adorable. It's adorable. And the reason why, believe it or not, the reason why I'm not doing Panto this year, for many reasons, one of them was I want to actually try and enjoy the festivities a bit more, because people who don't know, though it's fun doing a Panto, absolutely, you have a whale of a time, but wow, the hours you put in, you do have to love the job. If you don't love the job,
100%.
don't do it, because it is intense. But you don't really have as much time to enjoy like a Christmas market, or to do all these kind of festivities. But if you're Rebecca, you get them in. You get those festivities in. You cram them into everything you do.
I wondered where you were going with that. I was like, what's he going to say now?
Did it sound a bit sordid? Did it sound like a really bad Carry On film?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh God!
I'm joking. No, I can't help it. I love Christmas, David.
I know. I like Christmas. I like it a lot. But you, oh my days, you are intense. Like, as soon as it's the 1st of December, I guarantee Love Actually is on every day.
Oh, that'll be on the day before, the end of November.
Although, I won't lie, I did put Fred Claus on the other day. I did do that. It was a bit early. It was a bit early, but I love Fred Claus. I love that film.
You can't be calling me out for my festivities and watching Fred Claus.
It's not Fred Claus. It's not. Well, it is quite Christmassy. But yeah, are we going to do a bit of a promotion for Santa Snacks, Rebecca, on this
Santa
podcast?
Snacks. I tell you what, I best put a little thing in the description saying it only gets festive in the last 10 minutes of the episode. But Santa Snacks, for anyone that doesn't know, they are the best thing you will ever see, okay?
Some of them are not festive. She's just got them in a Santa box, and she says they're festive, and it's like, I don't know, nuts. And she goes, oh...
Yeah, but some nuts are festive, David, especially if they taste like clementines. Dear me.
I say all this. Rebecca's mum, she adores me. I might be one of her favourites. And she proper treated me last year. She got me a Santa box, didn't she? With some chockies in it. And I was such a little munchkin with her. I was like... Thank you, Carol. I love Carol. I think Carol looks at me every time she meets me. I think she wants to adopt me.
I mean, yeah, I also get that vibe. You are loved by most of my family, David. I'm not going to lie. I get regular messages saying, how's the cat doing? Because they just know you as the cat from Panto. Honestly. But no, you're absolutely right about Santa Snacks. I think we should do it together this year, David. I think we should do it every day leading up to Christmas. And you know what I'm going to do? I might get Carol my mum
Oh,
to put
yeah.
different snacks in my tub every day so I don't know what it is.
She genuinely gets so excited to reveal these snacks. She gets so excited.
The one thing I'm going to miss about it is not having you guys, like the people that I'm doing panto with, doing like 4-part harmonies around me going, Santa snacks, Santa snacks, Santa snacks. That's the one thing that's going to be missing. I'm going to have to rope Carol in for some harmonies.
I will say there's one Santa snack that I have to admit was a champion.
Okay.
And that was the mint Malteser reindeer. That's changing the game, that.
Yeah.
That's
That was
the
like
game.
leveling up, you know. That was like Santa Snacks Premium.
Yeah, and there was even a video of me trying to steal it. I did the classic, oh, right, Rebecca.
For all Santa Snack enquiries, you can head to my Instagram. That's at Rebecca Phythian, Phythian. Head to my little highlights on my page, and you can find out more there.
I think we should reshare that video as well of me shouting at you when you jumped on the drums.
Oh my God. Oh, yes. Yes, that needs to.
Playing it so badly, and yet you thought you were a genius.
I literally thought I was Roger May.
Roger
I basically just messed that up completely by saying Roger May instead of Roger Taylor and Brian May.
This is what we were working with, people. This is what we were working with. She thought she was it, and some of it hurt my ears. Like,
I can't believe I said Roger May. I think Carol's going to be very irritated by that.
I do. Definitely believe you said Roger May. That is you.
As you can hear, guys, delirium is set in now. We've been on this podcast for probably over an hour.
Freddie Taylor was good, wasn't he? Freddie Taylor.
And on that note, I think now is a perfect time to round up the first of our festive podcast episodes.
Here come the Christmas bells in the background.
I know, ding, 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 ding. I love those JINGLE bells. Oh, anyway. Oh, God, guys, I really need to get a cup of tea or just, settle myself. But I'm
going to have a glass of vodka. Cheers.
Oh, for anyone that has watched this podcast on YouTube, thank you for staying with us for as long as you have. It's been an absolute joy, and I cannot stress it enough to record with you, David. Honestly,
thank you for inviting me. I felt so touched that you asked me. I didn't think you would, so thank you.
David's I
just didn't think that. I'm a self-doubting person, so the fact that you did, thank you, and it was fun. Just do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Not anytime soon. Probably next Christmas. But no, absolutely. You're welcome back on here anytime. And it's just been so insightful to chat to you about your process, about your training, and just really deep diving into acting generally. Like, we've had so many wonderful, diverse episodes, but this has been quite cathartic for me because obviously I've kind of trained in acting, so that's where all of my energy has sort of laid for so many years, like yourself. And we've just had a wonderful old time.
It's been nice to actually talk about it as well. You don't get about this, and it was good. And I hope anyway that anyone out there that is training or looking into it, if they hear this, that they understand they're not alone, and that. And actually give the idea of just talk to actors about this stuff, because it actually, like I said, at times we're not always looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
So maybe talk to each other about this.
Yeah, definitely. Wonderful advice to leave the podcast on. One more thing before we go. David, if we want to find you on social media, give you a follow, or Precarious Theatre, where can we find you?
So if you go on Instagram, I'm down as David Alster 88, I believe. I'm really bad with my Instagram. But I believe that is what I'm down as. And Precarious Theatre, just follow us on at Precarious Theatre and you'll find us. It's a big red PT and you'll find us. And we also have a website. Just search Precarious Theatre, you'll find us. And on the website, you've got a range of goodies, including clips of old fringe performances and pictures and history about us. And I think you can even drop us some info. We might even find you for a future project, maybe, if you contact us. We might
Amazing.
be able to see you in the future. So there you go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, David. You've been an absolute pleasure to chat to. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Whether you have listened on Spotify or watched on YouTube, we really, really appreciate all of your love and comments and support. Tune in next Friday for another festive Christmas podcast episode where we will no doubt get into Christmassy stuff in the last 10 minutes of the podcast. Until next time, guys. Farewell.
Bye-bye.